One.
Okay. Well, first of all, the basic questions. You've lived in Tupelo like most of your life, correct?
I'm born and raised right here in Tupelo. The only times I have not lived in Tupelo were when I was in Starkville at Mississippi State and Oxford for Ole Miss.
Okay. I know you probably barely remember me, if at all. I did your IT work, some of your IT work before, and I've always, you and your family, it always struck me how you did not treat IT like second-class citizens. And the thing about IT is a lot of people, we're only there because something's busted anyway.
Right.
So you're already frustrated. Y'all were very nice about it. That's
Well,
great.
thank you. I hope. Thank
That's
you.
great. Excuse me. Now, when did you decide kind of which direction you were moving from law into politics?
I've always been interested in politics. When I was campaigning, I got tickled. One of my friends I grew up with, I handed her a card and asked her to vote for me, and she said, "I've been voting for you since we were in 6th grade. I don't see why I shouldn't now." So I got tickled about that. But I've always been interested in politics. I was a political science major, part of the STENIS program at Mississippi State. I never really knew whether I would actually run for office. I've always been involved with the Democrat Party. I've been involved with other campaigns. When the 2013, or kind of late in 2012, but when the municipal elections started rolling around, I began to really look at that. I thought Mayor Reed had done a great job. I actually emailed him asking him to consider, please running again for re-election.
Yeah.
And had he run for re-election, I would not have. But after he announced that he wasn't, only Mr. Pitts was the only person that came out to run. And I think that he's a great person. I have the utmost respect for him, his character, his love for the city. But I thought the city needed to go in a little different direction. And so I began talking to people, actually encouraging some of my Republican friends to run because I knew it'd be an uphill battle or challenge as a Democrat, and they finally flipped the table on me and agreed to help me if I were to run. And
That's good.
so that was it. I thought our city was at a crossroads and wanted to be part of pushing us in the right direction, and that is to become a more vibrant city, kind of a cool city, if you will. An enhanced focus on quality of life events, strong support for our public school district, those type of things.
Now, I've actually lived out of town for about 13 years now. When we lived in town, we had a lot of problems with what all was going on around town as far as quality of life went, or the events were few and far between. I am not hesitant to say that there were issues with county and city government.
Yeah.
But I've been very pleased with both what you and Mayor Reed previous have do the great improvements to life around here. It's especially some of the initiatives that you've worked on have been very, very good, for lack of a better phrase.
Well, thank you. It's important, that we have a variety of events. When we think festivals or events, sometimes we get caught up on alcohol or not alcohol, but that is kind of a side issue to me. A quality of life event is not necessarily a party or a concert. We have great events in our parks. We've got a couple movie nights coming up.
Yeah.
Family camp out nights. As a city, I think it's our job to provide something for everyone. Some type of events that have a broad array of appeal. And that's what we've tried to do. We've got a great team, Park and Rec, CVB, Downtown Main Street Association, folks out at the Birthplace that really do a good job of working together to create a lot of different events. And then I think a lot of people don't realize how many of the great events we have are not city-led events. Like even the Gumtree Arts Festival that you kind of think of as Tupelo or Tupelo's Festival.
Right.
That's not a city-organized festival. The Gumtree Art Museum, they organize the festival. They put it on. Of course, the city's here to help or do whatever we need. But we have a great working relationship with a lot of our nonprofits, and other groups to try to provide that wide array of quality of life events for all of our citizens.
What would you say is the biggest challenge in providing new events?
Money is always a challenge. Having people, volunteers, to actually organize or work the events is a big challenge. We find ourselves asking the same people to work every single event. Having the people kind of take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and actually take ownership of the festival is a big challenge. I get all the time, and they're great ideas. I mean that sincerely, but I get people give me great ideas all the time, and I have to try to diplomatically say, well, yeah, that is a great idea. I wish you would consider doing it, and we're here to help you, facilitate that event. People say, can we do this? I typically say yes, but that doesn't mean the city is going to fund it and the city is going to do it. We're here to provide support for that event.
Have there been any major backlash about any events, previous or upcoming?
No, I haven't had any, and I was lucky. Both Mayor Neely and Mayor Reed fought some of those battles for me, before I got here. So, you mentioned alcohol. At one time, you could not serve alcohol at the, public property here in town. So the concerts, at the Elvis Festival, you used to have a separate little beer garden over to the side that was not on city property, where so Mayor Neely and Mayor Reed, the previous two councils, they changed some of those rules. So I didn't have to fight any of those fights. We just had to focus on getting great events here in Tupelo.
One of the biggest things that happened most recently is the addition of the Tupelo transit system. That is something that I'm very proud to see here, and I think it's something that you worked pretty hard to get going.
So, sometimes you talk about country music singers or any genre of music of becoming an overnight sensation. The reality is that musician or that artist worked their whole life to get to that point. Councilwoman Davis, other people in the community have been advocating for that for about 20 years now, and we're fortunate our city council for not the first time in the history of the city of Tupelo, but for the first time in a very long time approved a public transit system. It seems to have started off very well. It's going good. We'll have to keep focusing on the ridership and making sure people know about it. The paratransit, which some people refer to as on demand, that's really going well.
Good. So
the people that you can't walk to the bus stop or you're too far away, you have to meet certain criteria of your age, disability, something along those lines. But the paratransit is going extremely well. The ridership of the transit system is going great so far. So we just have to see how it does over the next year, and hopefully it'll continue to be a success. And then, if the grants and other matching funds are available, hopefully that's something we can continue.
Are there plans, if it continues to go well, are there plans for expansion?
It just depends. There's a lot of factors that go into that. It's a very complicated issue, and it's kind of more complicated than you'd think. Tupelo is geographically a large city. We're spread out. We have different parts of the city that would need public transportation more than other parts of the city, and so it's hard to kind of pinpoint.
Population density, basically.
Population density, walkability of the neighborhoods, a lot of different factors that go into that. So, I don't want to say yes, because that has not been really discussed right now, but what's on the table right now is expanding the hours, possibly going into the weekends. And if we keep getting more and more riders, then you'd look at adding additional routes. So then you'd get to expanding the service itself. always goes back to the cost, so then you get into what's the cost of adding those additional lines. And, public transportation is a public service. It's not a money-making venture. It's never gonna make money. You try to recoup some of your money with the cost of actually riding the transit system. So, as far as expanding it, it's something that would be up for discussion. But first, we've got to make sure what we have works.
Okay.
I think the first step of expanding would be the hours and adding the weekends.
When you talk about recouping some of the cost, has the city considered doing advertising on the buses?
That has been discussed. You want, and I know a lot of larger cities do that. You want it to be an attractive bus, and so that's something we'll probably look at. I know there's different ways to do that, from kind of the traditional just ads on the side of the bus or the back of the bus, to kind of the electronic billboards, to things on the seat backs and everything else. That's something that will, I'm sure, be considered. But buses are really pretty, so
They are nice.
So
they are nice.
Yeah, but we'll look at any kind of funding source, any kind of. Right now, we're okay on funding as far as the system itself for a solid year or 13 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it just it depends if it keeps being a success. Then we'll look at some of those things, particularly as if it continues to be a success, funding in additional years.
Good. Again, it's something I'm very impressed with. I was there on the day we announced it, and got to ride on those nice, cool, air-conditioned buses. On that day, it was a good thing to have.
The air works good. I'm assuming the heat will work well. So yeah, they're good. They're very nice buses. We've got the vans for the paratransit. It's a good system. It'll work well. It serves the hospital here, serves the community college, ICC. Some people forget that we're a college town too. We've got ICC and University of Mississippi and the Mississippi University of Women.
All right there in that wonderful spot.
That's right. So we're serving that. They have their own transportation system that goes back and forth from the Tupelo campus to the Fulton campus. So depending on your class schedule, you can take the bus from Tupelo to ICC here, and then the bus from Tupelo campus to Fulton campus, and get back and then get home. So it's a great service. We just have to keep working to make it a success.
Well, changing subjects just a little bit, you were here during the tornadoes. What do you see that impact in town?
The tornado itself, of course, was devastating. You're talking tens of millions of dollars property damage, hundreds of properties, residential and commercial, both destroyed or heavily damaged. We were very fortunate not to have the loss of life that Louisville and other communities have. Smithville, just devastating there 3 years before. So we were lucky in that even though there was some significant injuries, and at least one person passed away later from probably injuries that were sustained, an elderly individual never really recovered from the injuries sustained in the tornado. But we had that devastation, the initial shock, and then what you saw was just a community in action. To see the response, 8 Days of Hope came in with over 3,000 volunteers. The United Way organized over 3,000 volunteers. And then you had thousands of other citizens through local churches, civic groups, several of the banks, Toyota Motor Company. All of these groups came in and helped, and you saw not just neighbors helping neighbors, but you saw a lot of that, but strangers showing up just to help. People, they didn't ask questions when they check in at the volunteer center. They just, where do you need me to go? What do you need me to do? Mm-hmm. And so I think we saw a kind of a rekindling, a rebirth of what we call the Tupelo spirit. That's a phrase that didn't exist before the 1936 tornado. So You know, it's, in that aspect, to see the city come together, you know, one city, that was heartwarming. Of course, we don't want to go through it again. We'd like to see different ways to bring the city together, but, you know.
Back to the good positive events.
Absolutely. So, you know, but it, you know, we live in the South. Our governor, you know, said something to the fact of, unfortunately, we're good at disaster recovery in Mississippi because, you know, we have to be. And that's the truth, you know, from the hurricanes on the coast to the flooding in the Delta to, you know, tornadoes through the rest of the state. You know, we have to be good at emergency response. It was great to see federal, you know, President Obama. I cried, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, I cried the night that President Obama did the presidential emergency disaster declaration. And you know, Governor Bryant was great. He was here, you know, on the ground the day after the tornado. So it was great to see that kind of cooperation on every level of government and in the private sector.
Have there been any major changes to the emergency alert system in the area? The alarms and sirens?
Well, the sirens, you know, we're, you know, maintaining, make sure that the sirens are working well. We have looked at different emergency notification systems, kind of through your phone and different things. You know, we're trying to make sure that we have the best, most modern technology for that. Trying to make sure that, you know, we've added 2 new storm shelters since then that can hold about 1,000 people each. We're still trying to add more and more of the smaller ones that can hold between 30 and 50 people each. Just trying to make sure that as a city we're doing everything that we can, because, you know, the unfortunate reality is at some point in time Tupelo will get hit by another tornado, just the area we live. You know, it's 75 years between those two, and I don't want to wish anything bad on people 70 years from now, but
Right.
you know, I hope it's 100 years or more before it happens again. And you know, so we just have to, as a city, be prepared, be focused. Individual homeowners, you know, need to make sure that they have an emergency plan in place. As a city, we, you know, fortunately, fortuitously, had just redone our emergency response plan when the tornado hit, and did a complete run through of that plan the morning of the 28th, the day the tornado hit. So, you know, we try to be on top of that and make sure that we have the resources needed, and make sure we have the, you know, the sirens and other, you know, emergency alert systems in place.
On the subject of resources, what do you see as the biggest needs the city has right now for new and expanding resources?
Well, I think the biggest need, or the biggest challenge we have, is supporting our public school district. That's something that I'm extremely passionate about. To me, we've got to be all hands on deck. I say it often, but I mean it 100% sincerely. The future of the public school district and the future of the city of Tupelo are one and the same. And, you know, to me, it's all interconnected. So the Tupelo Public School District is our greatest tool for economic development. That's the single greatest tool we have to build a better economy right here in the Tupelo, North Mississippi area. To grow the school district, to have a quality school district, you've got to have great quality neighborhoods. You've got to have a safe place to live. In addition to having a safe place to live, we live in a modern mobile society. If you want people to live here, you've got to make it enjoyable for them to live here. So we've got to have the quality of life events, the modern amenities, the different things. So
Expansion of broadband.
expansion, high-speed, you know, fiber to home. That's something we've been working on for several years, and unfortunately haven't quite gotten everything in place. Hopefully we will soon. But to me, it's all interconnected. This council has put a strong emphasis on infrastructure. which I think is the right thing to do. And also, for the first time in the history of the city, have essentially given the administration south or something like that. Tupelo would certainly love to be at the forefront of that. We want to be a one gig city. We're going to keep trying and we'll get there.
Good. As a nerd, 1 gig sounds correct to me. I think nerd, go ahead and say that. When we're talking about the future, what are your plans for the future? I know you were involved in possibly a Senate run.
Yeah. The Senate special election, Senator Cochran did enter that race and withdrew. The timing, we had 20 days from when the governor announced the special election to qualify. That's only the 6th or 7th time in the last 70 or so years that seat, that either seat has come open. Our state has a history of electing a senator and keeping them there for a very long time. After qualified as I got into the race, the timing of it just didn't seem right for me. It would be such an incredible honor to be able to serve our state in that capacity. There's not a statewide race that I'm looking at in 2019. As of right now, I fully intend to run for re-election here in Tupelo in 2021. Mm-hmm. Of course, if other opportunities come up, I don't want to slam the door on that and say I wouldn't look at that, but I have every intention right now of running for re-election here in 2021.
That's good. Like I said, I've been very much impressed with the way the city's been going the last several years, and I thank you for your work on that.
Well, thank you.
And of course, as you said, we have a good city council now, and our people are just really coming out and doing more in the community and working. Our industries, our businesses, and our small business expansion has been incredible.
Yeah, we've got, when you talk about the Tupelo spirit, you're talking about our community members, the citizens in action and engaged citizenry. And I just love that. You can sense the excitement in the community of, we want to do this, and then they make it happen. Whether it's a arts festival, we got Robin Street, the Art Stroll, mm-hmm. coming up next month.
Ale Trail.
The Ale Trail tomorrow night. Different things like that. Of course, downtown Main Street's involved in the Ale Trail, but like the Robin Street Art Stroll, things like that are totally private initiatives or neighborhood associations getting together and doing that. And that's something I would love to see more of. Events in the particular neighborhoods to get the neighbors out and about to interact with one another. It's opportunity, that one in particular, for the artists to hopefully be able to sell some of their goods and help make a living. People to come by and appreciate that. And then, just another street festival here in town to give people stuff to do.
And all of us coming together is, my personal philosophy is, the more we get together, the better off we all are.
I think that's exactly correct. I think that's a great philosophy, and I think it's 100% accurate.
Another of my philosophies that, no, I'm interviewing you, but this is just something I like to tell. My two biggest beliefs in life are both from Santa Claus. One from the song, be good for goodness sake. And the other is something I think about in terms of small businesses in the area. Remember in Miracle on 34th Street where the Macy's Santa says, okay, we don't have that, but if you go down to Bloomingdale's, they've got it. I think that's the kind of spirit that we have to some degree and need to foster here in town.
Yeah, I think we could learn a lot from both of those philosophies. Neighbors helping neighbors, and just being good.
The only other questions I have for you are, what do you see as the next big challenge, next big thing you'd like to get accomplished?
Well, I mentioned it already, but housing growth, revitalization of our neighborhoods, supporting our schools. To me, they're all interconnected. But that has been my challenge. That's been my focus, and that's what it will remain. So, to me, growing the population of the city of Tupelo is at the top of our list of challenges. and to do that, we have to do those other things, the quality of life, the safe neighborhoods, the, an attractive neighborhood, the beautification. Keep Tupelo Beautiful does a great job. But we have to have a clean, attractive, safe city to grow our city. And when we grow our city, we're helping our school district and we're helping our economy. The rising tide lifts all boats. So that's, to me, what at least the administration's focus will remain.
Excellent. Last question I have for you is a pretty important one, and feel free not to answer. Do you bleed maroon or red and blue?
Well, I'm fortunate to have an opportunity to go to both schools. I went to undergrad at Mississippi State and then law school at Ole Miss, but at the end of the day, I'm a Bulldog.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Mayor.
Absolutely. Thank you.